worked, and if it hasn't, then we could have a bit of a problem. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I hope it's working at least. We will find out as time goes on, as I'm waiting for it. There we go. Ah, I see myself. That's good. Leeds United could reportedly be seeing a little bit of a switch, a little bit of a change, a little bit of adjustment in terms of tactics next season, with something that has been mentioned by Daniel Farke in a recent interview that I found very, very interesting, and several people on the internet have found very, very interesting and have slightly lost their mind over. So, word for word, this is what is in the article in The Athletic, because Daniel Farke had a little bit of a chat with the press, like sort of yesterday when discussing the sort of Harry Wilson signing kind of thing. But obviously things weren't just about Harry Wilson, things sort of floated a little bit, which keeps things kind of interesting. Hello there, Hannah Bone. And word for word, this is what was said by Mr. Daniel Farke. I've clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry, I'm very, very struggling right now. Open image in new tab. That should do it. There we go. Bish bash bosh. Ah, it's going wrong. Okay, cool. Hopefully this works. Hey. Hey? No, unhui. No, right, okay, I'll move me here. Whether Leeds remain in that shape next season remains to be seen, that specifically being the three at the back formation that we had throughout the back end of last season. It worked pretty well for us, let's be completely honest here. The fact that we had three players at the back meant that we were solid enough. Rodon slipped into a right-back role at the time with Jordan Bogle just bombing on. Same happened a little bit on the left, but Pascal Struijk was less visibly playing as a left-back than Joe Rodon was playing as a right-back, with Gabby Goodmanson also just flying down the wing, which also absolutely fine, absolutely good, love to see it. But Wilson said during their conversation that Farke reiterated his natural desire to see his teams dominate the pitch, dominate the ball, it's been a day, and regain possession high up the pitch. Now, a lot of people have seen this and they've gone, fuck, that's not ideal. Oh dear. The manager also mentioned his preference for a four-man defence. However, Farke wants to set Leeds up at Nottingham Forest on August the 22nd. Wilson's early arrival means he has the entirety of pre-season to prepare. Now, this, of course, is a pretty big topic of conversation, because last season things went kind of well, because towards the back end of the season we were playing with that sort of deeper line. It wasn't necessarily a deeper line, but it was a more manned defensive line, if that makes a lot of sense. And people have seen this and understandably gone, ooh, well, the thing that worked is ideally the thing that we want to do, because if we're not doing the thing that worked, that means we could be doing the thing that didn't work, which is a fair critique of the four at the back system. But we might want to have a little bit more conversation around that and where that critique strictly comes from. And obviously the reaction on Twitter has not been the most positive and fun. So specifically, we've had Connor tweet out a sort of sad Joe Weller face. We've had discussion around people saying, well, why don't we just bring in players that can perfect the formation that worked well for us last season? Of course, some people saying that we might be reading into a little bit too much, but obviously everyone reads into everything a little bit too much. That's how the internet works. And some even going as far to say as Farke will get sacked by the first international break if he goes to a back four trying to dominate the ball. Now, this is where we get into a weird little topic of conversation of, is it necessarily going to work if we try and play with that four at the back kind of structure and system? Because I think there's a world in which it does. So, I'm going to press F11 and hopefully get everything to work properly. Because I think a change in system to suit that four at the back is potentially going to be completely fine. And I know a lot of people won't believe that. And a lot of people go, we're going to change things. But it's fine. Change is not. Change is good. Change is fine. I'm going to have to delete absolutely everything on this whiteboard thing that I've done, because it's knacked it. There we go. Oh, lads, I should have prepared more. It's fine. It's fine. This is what we do here. We are effectively a car crash, but in 1080p. But a lot of people saw that transition to the 3-4-3 and went, everything is brilliant. And it was, because let's be honest, we got points that we absolutely shouldn't have gotten looking at the quality of the squads against one another. And I think a lot of people have taken that as the system did really well, as opposed to Daniel Farke did really well. But at the end of the day, you've got to consider who put the system in place. Why were we playing like that? Well, because Daniel Farke saw that the four at the back didn't work and switched away. He does have that preference for possession-based football. We have seen this. It was a constant throughout the Championship, and it worked, because 90 points one season, 100 the next season. If you're averaging 95 points in the Championship, you're doing a pretty fucking good job. But it didn't work in the Premier League, and there are a couple of questions around that. The first of them is, was that based on personnel? Was that a case of Ampadu, for example, wouldn't have been up to pace with the Premier League just yet, so he wouldn't have been able to do that sort of dominant possession-y stuff that he did in the Championship? You've got a question mark around, well, Anton Stach. Anton Stach had just come to the Premier League. Was he up to speed? Did we have a number 10 that could do the job as effectively as we wanted? I would say absolutely not, because, well, Aronson wasn't playing in the 10 the majority of the time. Our more bombing forward centre midfielder was Anton Stach a lot of the time, which again wasn't fantastic. So there's a lot of sort of things to weigh up and consider, and I think it's a change that we could reasonably make. And this is just something to sort of counter what Leeds in Hemi has said here, where he said that we aren't one of the best sides, though. And I get that. I agree. We're not one of the best sides. But if you have a look at every single team in the Premier League last season, how many of them would you consider top sides? And how many of them played with four at the back? Because I would say a hell of a lot of teams played four at the back. So let's look through the bottom half, right? Fulham played very consistently with four at the back. Occasionally they drop to a three, but that would be very situational. Newcastle played with four at the back constantly. Occasionally they go to a three, but again, that depends on player ability, all that kind of stuff. I've accidentally opened the wrong tab up. Let's fix that. There we go. Everton played with, say it with me, four at the back. Leeds, we know we played with a three. That's fine. But Crystal Palace played with a three. Understandable. Okay, we've got two threes, we've got a bunch of fours. But that's sort of the point. The point isn't that you need to rely on playing with three players at the back. The point is that sort of modifiable system that we've got is the one that works, because it wasn't strictly, at least in theory, a three at the back. It was a case of with the ball, two. You've got a back two. You've got Joe Rodon, functionally a fullback. Gabby Goodmanson, again, also a fullback. But Bogle pushed up to play on the wing. Bogle wasn't playing as a right back for the majority of last season when we had the ball. Bogle was get the ball, thump, fuck off into the distance, and do your thing up there. And it worked really effectively. Jayden Bogle, I can't quite remember what his attacking returns were last season, actually. I think they were less impressive than they deserved to be. But let's have a look. Jayden Bogle, a goal and 2 assists. But let's be honest, he was creating a hell of a lot of chances. Gabby Goodmanson, weirdly as well, in the league, didn't create a goal or an assist, but I think he was ridiculously unlucky because he did a hell of a lot. But I think with the right additions to the side, with the right improvements in midfield, which we are clearly working towards. So adding Harry Wilson as 1 point is someone that is familiar with playing that four in the back style, which again is probably part of the reason that he's come here in the first place. Cuts inside so he supports the midfield a hell of a lot and can play as a 10. Clearly making moves to sign other midfield players. If you're looking at Charles, you're looking at Brandt. There's been rumours around a couple of other players, but those are not as firmly supported. There is a clear shift that we are going to add the quality that is necessary to play in a system like that. And in my opinion, I think having that as an option in the first place is going to be massively beneficial. Having the option to go, right, okay, it's a side that is worse than us. We are playing against Hull. Why not? Against Hull, if you're playing with 3 centre-backs and you're playing like a sort of relatively passive game and you're relying on a counter, it's not the best of things to do. Whereas if you've got the player options and you can transition between the two really effectively, as I think we saw on the pitch last season, you're looking brilliant, you're looking fine, you're looking good. And this is why I think the sort of loud opposition that we've seen throughout the fan base today that are going, That almost got you gone last winter. Why would you dare do that again? Is a little bit overblown because at the end of the day, we were constantly shifting systems anyway. And I think starting with a four at the back isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, in the case of we're going to play with four at the back, if you stick James Justin at right back, that easily transitions into a three. You just say, right, James, you're now playing as a right centre back. Gabby Goodmanson, functionally a left midfielder. Functionally on the right, you'll have Harry Wilson. That's his name. Why am I forgetting Harry Wilson's name when we've just signed the guy? I don't know, but we'll work that one out as we go. Do your thing. Like, that sort of ability to transition is going to be absolutely key going forwards. Gabby Goodmanson can play as a centre-back. He was fairly consistently doing it at the World Cup. So I think that sort of fear that we've got a lot of the time is one that isn't embedded in truth. It's not one that... I'm trying to find a way to phrase this. The reality of the situation is, last season isn't this season. The world of football is always fluid, it's always changing, it's always adjusting, and teams are changing and adjusting, and squads are changing and adjusting constantly. And we will be against different teams in the league next season, and we will be a different team with different players. So I don't see the harm in saying, look, Harry, ideally we're going to play with four at the back, but that's not necessarily going to happen. Because at the end of the day, if you are telling a new signing, yeah, I love playing with this system, when in reality you're kind of like, well, I'd rather not play with three at the back, because then you're just sort of, I don't know, I'd rather have honesty at the moment. We don't have enough of that. We have too much PR bollocks and not enough sort of leaning into this is what the actuality of the truth is, which is a shame, but it's fine. Anyway, I'm going to take a dive into the comments and we're going to have a little bit of a talk about things. And if there's been any news or anything that people want to have a little bit of a conversation about, just shout it in the comments. That would be great. But yeah, I just thought I'd have some general thoughts about things. And I love that in my eyes right now, you can see that there's the ring light there. You can see a monitor here. You can see a monitor here. It's very weird. There's three very clear sort of dots. It's like, oh, I feel like an alien. Anyway. I'm not going to scroll all the way back in the comments because there's a lot of comments, but I will go as far as Rich, who said, we can either start with 3 or 4, it doesn't matter as long as we win. That's true, but the formation ultimately is a defining factor in whether or not we win. The sort of evolving nature of the way that we play is going to change things up. Like, if we're playing against a side that like to overload the wide areas, 3 makes a lot of sense because it means that you've got a centre-back out there, you've potentially got a winger out there, and you've got a full-back out there. And similarly, you can counter their overload by overloading their fullback by saying, look, good fucking luck. Joe Rodon is playing as functionally a right back, and you've also got to deal with Jaden Bogle, and you've got to deal with Harry Wilson. Enjoy. Which is going to be a pretty good position for us to be in, to be honest. Effortless French. Haha, tu parles français? Ah, je parle français un petit peu, mais je parle français et c'est effortless. Says that Farke's not stupid, but 4 at the back almost got him fired, so what makes him think 4 will work now? Again, it'll be a changing sort of structure and difference in who the players are. You say that... I've lost the comment a little bit. There we go. You're saying that you're not convinced that Gabby and Bogle can do it. I think Bogle can play as a right back. He has done that in the past. He just likes to go for a walk sometimes, you know? But Gabby has played consistently at right back, both at club and international level, so I've got no particular worries about that one. And Beal, sure, Beal doesn't necessarily play in a 4-back, but again, you can train players to do things. And even if you're not wanting to play Beal in your 4 at the back, just don't play Beal. You've got other players. Like, it's a case of pegs and holes again. People are looking at that and going, well, Beal isn't necessarily the right peg for that hole, so don't stick him there. Like, we will sign more centre-backs, and we've got Rodon to play the right centre-back role, and we will have someone to play in the left centre-back role. I think we've got plenty going on. Certain content creators are obsessed about being proven right over everything else. I don't know who you're referring to, because I'll be honest, I have been dealing with baby for a lot of the day, so if you would like to elaborate, then elaborate. If you wouldn't, then that's also fine, but I've not seen anything, really. I've just had a little bit of a skim through what the Twitters have been saying and seeing what they've been saying. So, As long as we win, I don't care about the system. What I am worried about is Farke's stubbornness. You say that, but he did massively change his system last season. Like, he's been shown to be stubborn once, and that was early last season when everyone was saying, go to a 3 at the back. And we went to a 3 at the back. It took time, but that change did happen. It took a little bit of a while, but there is an argument that he likes to stick to his system, but at the same time, when it works, it works. And the change in system, it worked, and he will have learned a lesson out of that. I can see us sticking with 3-4-2-1 with Wilson and Okafor behind DCL, but I suspect he'll try to go the 4-2-3-1 at times, and if we do end up getting a super number 10, such as Brandt, I think we will look at number 10. I think it would be weird for us to be sniffing around Brandt if a number 10 wasn't in the tactical plans. And even if it isn't in the plans of, you will be always a number 10, it'll be a case of, well, we can be variable now. We can play with two tighter players behind the number 9, such as going Okafor, Brandt / other number 10 behind DCL, with Harry Wilson potentially playing on the right-hand side of that 4, with Goodmanson on the other one, but it's a little bit of a... It's nice having tactical flexibility, is the only way that I'm going to put that, to be honest, because we didn't have enough of it last season. I'm out of sync. Am I out of sync? Hold on, I'm going to listen to myself. I'm looking like I'm in sync on my end. Can someone pop a 1 in the chat if I'm in sync, and someone pop a 2 in the chat if I'm out of sync, just so I get a little bit of a better idea of how I'm doing for everyone. And if it's still knacked according to lots and lots of people, then I will rejig things and rework it, and that's fine. 1, it's not. Nope, all good here. All boxed up says also 1. Fantastic, thank you very much. It might just be on your end, so I'd give it a quick refresh, and if that doesn't work, then I don't know, to be honest. Lost sound now? Okay, I feel like that one isn't on my end. I can check it, though. Yeah, that one isn't on my end. I can hear it. Anyway, where are we? A lot of early games we're losing at the start of the season. We have players like Piru and Metro as our main striker instead of DCL. Yeah, there is also the argument that like we hadn't gotten into the flow yet. A lot of the players that we signed had just been signed and didn't properly know the system and weren't up to pace with the Premier League. So as things go on, I imagine that 4 at the back would have started getting some results. Like, I'm not saying enough to keep us up or anything like that, but it wouldn't have been as much of a disaster as I think a lot of people envision, and it means that we've got a little bit of potential to do things. Just think of Castaway. Well said! I've not seen Castaway. Should I watch Castaway? There's a lot of sort of classic films that I've not seen, but I think that's one of those where, I don't know, a lot of people have been like, you need to see it, but at the same time, if I watch it and I'm like, it's a man gets stuck on island, man gets away from island after shagging a volleyball. Like, I get it, but at the same time, if it doesn't live up to what I want it to be at this point, it feels like it might be a disappointment. Which isn't the film's fault. It's probably, I don't know. It's probably the fault of me waiting so long to watch it, but I don't know. Had a very defensive midfield last year. Playing Wilson, we will now be less defensive in midfield, so playing 4 at the back doesn't make sense with our current team. Signing could change that. We'll get signings, yeah. That's not really an issue, I think. BL doesn't play when we have a back 4, but why sign BL if you're not going to play him? You could say the same for anyone. Like, systems change all the time and players get signed as backups. You could say, why sign Bohr now? Well, because if we get injuries, you need to play Bohr now. You need another centre-back. You could say the same in the early season for James Justin. Everyone was like, why have we spent that much money on someone that's not playing? And then you get to the second half of the season, he plays every single game in every single position in the back line, and you're like, oh, right, okay. Like, depth is a thing. And it's not only depth that you get brought by having those players available, it's also sort of tactical flexibility and all that kind of stuff. It's quite good. I like it. The bit about out of sync, that's fine. Farke want to play 4-2-3-1, then switch to a 4-3-3, then switch to a 5, but gets labelled as stubborn. Yeah, it's the tactical changes that we saw earlier last season were vast. And I think people that are still like, oh, typical Daniel. Daniel just loves his stubbornness. Oh, what a bastard. Like that. At this point, we're getting to the stage where it's a little bit unfair. I think we're also at the point where, in general, any broad sweeping critique of Daniel Farke that we saw early last season was massively unfair. The fact that people before the season were like, we need to get rid, he's just got us promoted. Give him a little bit of a go. And people, even this summer, I've seen a couple of people go like, have we gone as far as we can with Daniel Farke? Like, no, we've not. Because he had half a Premier League squad last season, because, again, it was a squad that was semi-built, I suppose. But it wasn't quite there yet. And I think to sort of say that he needs to go after a season where he's come 14th after all expectations had as optimistically 16th or 17th is a little bit wild. And the midfield last season was insanely tight. So I think the fact that we're a few points off Europe and he still gets the whole, are we at his limit? It feels forced, is how it feels, I think. That's the way I'm going to put that. I think certain people like Connor and Joe's make KG. Oh, I love KG. KG, my best friend, who banned me for trying to have a conversation about Bamford's statistics. That was a fun one. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's always going to be a case of how is the side doing? Are Leeds prospering at the moment? Are we benefiting? Are we pushing forward? Are we doing well? And then you'll get to the other side of things, and people will be like, well, I've got my thumbnail ready for when Daniel Farke gets fired. And it's like, I've done that once, and I did that before the Man City game, and I was like, right, probably gone against Man City. I might have to do a stream immediately after the match, so let's just get the assets ready. And then everything turned around. That wasn't a thing that I relished. That was a thing that I was like, I like backing people. I like backing players. We might have hit the bad times. But some people are more in a situation of the numbers are really big on my video if I call for someone to get fired. And then if they do get fired, because to be completely honest here, right, and this is the case of all football managers ever. Every manager in the world of football that is no longer in their job, 90% of the time, is because they were sacked. And you'll still simultaneously get people who are sat at the sidelines like, see, I told you he'd be sacked. And it's like, yeah, you've said this since he was hired. That's not a fair breakdown. That's just, it's not even hedging your bets. That's like saying at some point in the future, I will die. Like, yeah, evidently, but you've not gone for cause, you've not gone for timing, you've not gone for legacy. Like, come on, let's not be super lazy. Let's actually build up some analysis and breakdowns and stuff rather than just going, eventually this guy's going to get sacked and I'm going to bang the views off it. It's bizarre to me. I don't quite understand it, but I don't know. If you were Farke's boss and he went back to a back four, how many losses would you accept before firing him? 4 games, he's the manager and it's his choice for now. I mean, it's weird because at the same time, not every loss can be put onto a manager. Because at the same time, you've changed the system, sure, but like last season, the match where Gabby Goodmanson scores a screamer of an own goal, no one's looking at that and going, yeah, that was Daniel Farke's fault that we didn't get a point. So I think it's sort of not fair to say this is the number of losses that's allowable, because at the same time, you don't know that this number of losses is Daniel Farke's fault. You don't know who the responsibility lies with, which muddies the waters a little bit. It makes things a little bit more complicated than just, I'd give him 4 games. Because it just feels a bit harsh. And that's also assuming that if he goes to a back 4 and just refuses to go back, because he's already shown that he'll go back 4 to back 5, and to just sort of say, well, he wouldn't do that again, it feels a little bit unfair. Agree, Jim, especially Connor with the 5. I don't know what 5 you're meaning. You might have to tell me. Why does it feel like we're only signing a total of 3 players? Because we're really early in the window. And the fact that we're early in the window means that a lot of the movement hasn't happened yet. A lot of movement will happen towards the back end of a window. We know that that's the case. And that's especially true in a World Cup year. Because a lot of not only key targets, but... Right, how do I put that? Right, you've got a list of players, right? And you have this player who is your number 1 target, and he's been at the World Cup and his team might have been knocked out or something, but he's still having a few weeks of a break before he gets back to thinking about football, because he wants to take a little bit of time to just go, breathe, look after myself for like 10 minutes. you can't then move on to target B, C, D, E, F because you don't have an answer from target A. So if you go, well, we've signed the fourth person on our list, and then the first one comes back to you and goes, I would love to move to Leeds United, but then you've spent that budget. At that point, you've lost out on the player that you really, really wanted because you're in a rush to get shit done. And whilst getting things done early is good, and it means that, fine, you've got the players more available for training and all that kind of stuff, it also means that you're overly rushing everything, and you're potentially not getting the targets that you actually want. It's why when it came to Paixão, and we ended up with Noah Okafor, like, we didn't get Paixão, that's fine, but we ended up getting a very good player as an alternative, and there's always going to be players that are further down the list. There is not a chance in hell that every single one of Leeds United's targets go away in the time that we are waiting for the top of the list to make a decision. So I don't mind it too much. It's basic. It's fine. Like, it might feel right now like we're going a little bit slow, but going a little bit slow is normal, especially in a year where the targets aren't engaging yet. So it's, it's the norm. It's fine. I ain't got no complaints about that. Where are we now? There we go. Restarted up all okay now. Fantastic. It's a case of letting the 49ers and Farke get on with their jobs and seeing what happens when the season initially kicks off. Too much negativity is not good before a ball's been kicked. Yeah, it's why I always try to be good vibes. It's why I'm always of the opinion that, because at the very least, Farke's trying. The 49ers are trying. There's no situation in which they're like, fuck it off. Because, you know what? If it all goes wrong, at least I've done what's best for me. Like that, Daniel Farke's not that kind of guy, and the 49ers, if they're just, because a lot of people have made this accusation about the 49ers, the asset stripping argument of, well, they will sell players and they'll just take the money and then piss off. That's not how you make a profit from running a football club. The way you make a profit running a football club is you increase the value of the football club, and then you sell them for more than you bought them for and more than you've invested. Which makes a lot of sense, to be honest. But they don't do that by saying, look, we had a club in the Championship with a lot of good players. Now we've got a club in the Championship with no good players because we sold them all. Like, they're heading in the right direction. The 49ers know their stuff. Daniel Farke knows his stuff. So that's why I'm never going to be in the position of sort of jumping down their throats that we've not done anything by the 9th of July when we've got like a month and 3 quarters to go. Like, take it slow. We're okay. The objective is 3 years in the Prem to stabilise the team while changing the formation. Our results for the second half of the season when playing 3 centre-backs was great. Again, it's a sort of changing squad thing and a changing our role in the league kind of thing, because if after coming 14th last season, you could genuinely, I would say look me in the eye, but I can't look you in the eye. Hold on. Ah! Oh shit. There we go. Ah! If you can look me in the eye right now and tell me that you would accept 17th and barely scraping survival, fair play. But the target is no longer just survive. The target is sort of stabilize, build a foundation, grow. I've just realised the moving my hand thing doesn't matter, so I'll just do it up here with like fingers. We want a little bit more now, which is why I think a potential change in formation makes sense. Anyway, that wasn't worth it. The only way we change tactics is if we bring in the players to do so. Right now, with 3-5-2 or 5-3-2. Yeah, I think we will make those changes, to be honest with you. It's not necessarily 3-5-2, though, either. It's sort of a 5-4-1, a 5-2-2-1 that we've seen a little bit. The NFL have a saying there are only 2 types of managers, those who've been sacked and those who are going to be sacked. Yeah. I mean, occasionally you'll get a resignation, but like even Bielsa didn't get a chance to resign, so... Well, it might have been a paper resignation, I can't quite remember, but... Wilson headlines the signings, but what signing will close the window? A big one, I presume. It'll be fairly significant. I don't see us breaking our transfer record this window, because the 49ers aren't that kind of owner, but I see us making progress. Right, I am going to very quickly end the stream, because there is a new thing that I'm going to have to talk about. I'm going to throw together a thumbnail very, very quickly. But I would appreciate if you guys would make the move with me. because there is some fairly big news regarding Carl Darlow. Let's background remove you. Darlow close to Man United. Deal. No, transfer. There we go. And then I will discuss all about the Carl Darlow thing on the other stream. Because, what the fuck. So I'm going to end this one here. Head over to that one. Hopefully you guys join me there. Yeah, I will see you in like a minute's time, I think. Hold on. Actually, it might not even be a minute's time. Download you. YouTube Studio. Right, cool. I'm going to end that there. I will see you in a couple of moments. Toodaloo.